Good afternoon, Facebook and Instagram family. Thank you for joining me for a late edition of Back to the World, my brother and my sister's keeper. I'm Tony, and thank you guys for coming on board. The music that you may hear in the background, we don't own the rights to. But if you have any comments, questions, anything that you care to share, hit us in the boxes down below. All right. I think I got an interesting subject for today, and I may get a lot of flack for the subject. I'm not concerned about that. I may even get some of those that'll call me a hater. But once I put it in perspective, even if you disagree, you'll be able to understand where I'm coming from. Okay? Our episode of Back to the World, my brother and my sister's keeper, today is about a video I received. The name of it is called Big Meech receiving a manicure in the halfway house. Okay? That's Big Meech receiving a manicure in the halfway house. All right. I just want to explore that for a minute. Okay. First and foremost, I don't know Big Meech personally. Okay? But congratulations to him and kudos, man, for being released early, doing 15 years on a 30-year sentence, the whole bit. Hey, I commend you, brother. You know what I mean? I had 4 life sentences, and I did 25 years on it, and I was granted clemency by President Obama. So I know what it's like, man, and I know what it's like not to give up. And from all the media and everything, man, we've been keeping up with you out here, and it seemed like you've just been fighting, all the way down the line. You've been fighting and trying to gain your freedom. So with that said, I kind of want to enter into and this is only my thoughts and my opinion. I don't know if any of our other contemporaries, and what I mean by that basically is any other guys that have done fair time and been released and what have you. I'm not sure. And I'm not looking for those to agree or disagree with me. I just want to point out a situation and the optics on how things look. Okay? So, with that said, last night, I was watching television and, just reading and what have you. And my nephew texted me a reel. And on that reel, it was Big Meech getting a manicure. Okay? And while he's getting a manicure, he had on a Rolex watch, and he had on a chain, man, where it looked like every diamond on the link for the chain and the BMF monogram looked like it had a quarter carat. Looked like everything was just a link, a quarter carat. I mean, it's awesome. All right, and when I first saw that, I said, dang, I thought they said he had to do halfway house. So then I read the caption, and it says, Big Meech receives manicure at the halfway house while wearing a $250,000 chain and a Rolex watch. When I saw that, I cringed. Right? And it made me think, it's like, did he sneak out of the halfway house and go get this done and he's videoing it? Because even if that's the case, man, you're putting these people up on game. So I read some more comments other people say, and a lot of people were applauding that. They were applauding that behavior. if you will, because it's behavior. It's behavior. And after reading it, he was in the halfway house and he was on a phone call. The video didn't have a sound. And the reason it didn't have a sound because it didn't want you to listen to his conversation or whatever the situation may be. But what you're showing is a major optic, right? And so I told my nephew about that video, and I'm like, man, that don't look good. And my nephew was kind of championing it, saying, man, that man back out, man, look like he's doing his thing the whole bit. Okay? And it could not be. It could just be some of the things or the remnants that were left over from when he was arrested. And he had action at it, and he told somebody to bring his watch down, get his necklace, and he's good. So when I explained that to my nephew, and I said, man, that's wrong, that gives a bad image, and it could put a bad taste in a Fed's mouth, especially after you've done half the time you were supposed to do. And I'm gonna get to a story about that in a minute. And see, they hold grudges, and sometimes, everybody's not gonna see it your way, and sometimes you have to see it others' way. Okay? So my nephew said, he said, so what you dislike about it? I said, well, man, the man got on a $250 chain. He got on a Rolex watch. He's getting a manicure. So my nephew said, so is it about the Rolex watch and the necklace? I said, no, it's not about the Rolex and the necklace. I said, because I've seen guys that have gotten their watches and they couldn't wait to wear their nice timepieces, and they had them on inside the halfway house. I said, but that plus the manicure. See, you're being pampered in the halfway house where this is not supposed to happen. And I don't know how Miami halfway house may have a section where they have massage therapists, masseuse, and manicurists or whatever. I don't know. I never gone there. I never asked anybody about that. But I know that their halfway house at one time was on the beach. You used to ride bikes up and down the whole bit. So maybe they have that. But sometimes we got to think about the message that we're sending out. Right? And I don't know about my other contemporaries, man, but that's not a good look. That's not a good look. Right? And I know some of you are saying, oh, OG, oh, old school, man. So, man, that's not the way it's done yet, man. How you doing? All right, good seeing you, brother. All right. So they're basically saying that, man, you sound like you're hating on the brother. No, I'm not. I'm not hating on the brother. I understand. I don't necessarily know how old Meech is, but I know I'm at least 15 years older. So it's just like the NBA, right? It's just like Wilt Chamberlain's era, Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson and Michael Jordan's era, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird's era, then Michael Jordan's era, and then Kobe, and then LeBron. So it's eras. So I understand how we did things in our era versus how the younger brothers that are balling today are doing things in their era. But one era you got to realize that never changes, and that's the feds. That's those who are your opponent. They don't give a shit about eras. They're trying to nail you. So no way am I hating, but let me show you a comparison story. Now, first off, I like to say this. I don't necessarily, and I don't say this often, that I admire other drug dealers, because I'd like to think at one time what I was doing and the way my situation was, I had the best situation that one could have, and I haven't really Now there are many guys that probably made more money than me, but I had my situation set up just like the business that it was. But my resources and the way that I move things, if anybody's doing it now, they're doing it from a template from which me and my cohorts pretty much designed in the early 90s. you know so I'm not lacking on the story or the background a whole bit. I'm just trying to point something out. And when we start talking about, then it becomes who's the GOAT. You know what I'm saying? Who's the GOAT? Were you a GOAT in your era? Is he a GOAT? No, I wouldn't say that I'm a GOAT, but I know that I had a really, really sweet hookup and a really, really sweet plug, and it was very, very, very supportive of me. But what I admire about the brother is that he was able to bring so many men under one umbrella. And I always say this, I'm an introvert. I don't like that many people around me. A lot of people are under the assumption that they know me, but not that many people know me. And that could have been to my detriment in some of the things that I wanted to do later on. But I just could not embrace that many people because, being an introvert, you don't want that many people around you. But I know that for some of the lofty plans that I had, it would have taken a personality such as Big Meech. And the things that he does and the whole bit, the young guys embrace it. Right? But I'm telling you how it looks. It looks like the halfway house is catering to you. They're letting you. They don't know that you can have your jewelry there, but people don't know that. They're thinking that, all right, you got a $250,000 chain and a Rolex watch, while you're getting a manicure in the halfway house. And people are asking, what kind of halfway house is that? Now, I know that your game is tight in terms of your resources and everything in your circle. We read about it. It was always in the news. I couldn't have lived that way, but to each his own. But I'm saying every move you made, it was scrutinized, right? And you got many, many people that's happy for you, right? But then you got your detractors, and some of them are saying that you only got out because you snitched. I'm not here to indict you, nor to take you to trial, be that as it may. But what it is that there are a few of those heads out here that don't really care about you, right? Now, you don't know how many others there are. And this is just me looking at it from the outside, looking in. You should never have to go back to that game. I mean, because 50 has embraced you. You have a show that's in the top 10 on TV. And can you imagine the viewers that it's going to get if you make an appearance on the show as someone else, or saying that now this is you in the present day? Man, your life is already written. And your tight circle kept it that way. So I'm not, just because I brought it up, I'm not concerned about whether you did or you didn't. That's not the issue, and that's not what I'm talking about. But what I'm talking about is this. There's a certain arrogance that a man can do and be and still be very, very subtle. And it'll take a trained eye and a wise mind to catch it. But when you look at all the other brothers who've gotten out, and many of them were deemed kingpins in their era. See, we're talking eras now. We're talking three-pointers, we're talking assists, we're talking steals, we're talking all of that. Many may not match your numbers. Maybe you're like LeBron and you put it out of the way. But just because a man did not score as many points as you and he did not play as long as you, doesn't make him any less of a goat. Okay? So, just like every last one of those guys played NBA basketball, that's what they had in common. Every last one of us was deemed a kingpin. Every last one of us was deemed a menace to our society, right? To our community. All right? And see, sometimes you can bring unwanted attention to yourself. And this is where I don't like so many people around me, because now the feds got however many people you got around you, they got that many people to choose and to go to try and tell a lie on you to bring you down. I had a guy that was my best friend and my number one business partner. Been friends with him for 30 years. And he folded, man. He folded like a tailgate chair. You know? And I never handed anything to nobody. I never did nothing, none of the things that they said I did. But if that one person within your circle decide to give information, whether it's true or false, it can get you right back in that place, brother. And that's the point that I'm trying to make. It just sends a bad optic, and it looks like you're thumbing the nose at the people. And see, most people that gets locked up and they don't have your resources, well, most that get locked up, they try and change, or they try to show that they've changed, right? But many of us getting out don't have your resources, right? So with that said, sometimes you have to check the temperature and see what's going on. You're just getting home, you're just getting to the halfway house, you haven't even had a chance to feel the lay of the land. And I know a lot of the guys, man, are probably brown-nosing and the whole nine, man. But what I mean by brown-nosing, y'all know, they're probably kissing your ass the whole 9 yards. And that pleases some. Again, not me. I don't like that many people around me. And what happens is these people start catering to you. But somewhere up in there's a Judas. And that person can tell a simple lie and say that y'all discussed getting back into that other field. And then there they are. All right? So I just think that too early on, man, the way it looks, and the feds, man, get a hard on for you, and then they'll come after you with both barrels. And they'll look at how they failed this time, and then they'll correct it the next time. So I know some of you are saying, man, you don't know what you're talking about, man. Well, let me tell you why I know what I'm talking about, right? I'm going to tell you about a case that I had, right? See, unlike many others, I beat the feds 3 times. I beat them 1 in preliminaries. Years later, I beat them again in trial, 31 counts, and I was acquitted and walked out the front door. Okay, so now on that case, the Fed seized $23 million from me, right at 23.8. All right, it seized all my assets and everything at that particular time, and but while I was out on bond, I even got a bond. I was out on bond, and they seized all my assets other than my home and 1 vehicle. All right. So the statutes are gone now, so I can talk about it. So anyway, what happened? I was out on bond, and it took about another year for me to go to trial. Well, while I was waiting, man, I cranked it up. Because I felt like if I was going to go down for a life or whatever, my family was going to be straight. So I got back out and I got to work, right? So I went to trial January 2nd. January 2nd, 1994. I went to trial. right? So, where's my lighter, y'all? Oh, so anyway, I went to trial. Me and my 19 co-defendants, and we won. So that's when I didn't have to do what I was doing anymore. I retired, right? So my attorney argued that, Your Honor, Mr. Ford wants to reclaim his assets and everything, the whole bit. The judge was not aware that the feds had seized all my assets, confiscated my cars and everything. So my lawyer said that the government took a total of 23 point something million dollars in cash and assets, seized my bank accounts, my automobiles, real estate property, and other businesses, right? So the judge said, is that correct? The prosecutor said yes. So he said, well, I'm going to order you guys, I'm going to order the government to return Mr. Ford. Is that? They said, well, Your Honor, we don't have those assets. Why not? Why don't you have them? Because we use the funds and those assets to further our fight on the war on drugs. The judge said, okay, I understand. He said, but look, he said, I don't know what trial you were at, but I was at a trial where this man was just found innocent. He was acquitted. So the government said, well, what does that mean? He said, I'm ordering you to return his assets, his property. So they said, well, we're going to file a motion. And he said, that's your right. That's your right. You got X amount of months or whatever to file. Bam. That was it. So now keep in mind, I got the government now strapped across the barrel. They have to return those assets to me. But see, in that year's time that I was in that year and a half time that I was out on bond, I accumulated damn near 3 times the amount that they had seized from me. So now at this time, I got a Harley Davidson dealership. I got me and my partner, we lost the banks in that particular case. We lost the banks, and in the I had real estate office. I had a bunch of property and the whole bit. Lived in different houses throughout the country. So I'm doing good, but I retired now. I don't need to go back to that life. Let me tell you what happened. They couldn't get me in trial. So now that the judge issued them rule that they should give me my funds back, they went to work on me, bro. And for starters, let me tell you what happened. Me and my wife at the time, I went to a dinner for Mayor Lee Brown. Mayor Lee Brown was running for office again, his second term as mayor. And I think the plates it was like $2,500, and that was your donation. So my wife and I had gone, and we pulled up. We went inside. Man, it was beautiful. It was at the Houstonian, and this is a private club membership and everything for all the elite in Houston. So I was invited, and man, we were there. We heard all the campaign talk, everybody getting their accolades, everybody smelling their coffee and all that other shit. So we clapped and the whole bit. So I was tired because it was getting late. So as we were leaving, I stepped outside, and my wife and I, man, we were holding each other up. We were both tired, and I ran into 2 attorney friends of mine, a Mr. Walter Strickland and a Mr. Ray Shackelford. Shout out to Walter and Ray. So there was another guy and a lady standing right across from us. So Ray and Walter were teasing me and laughing with me and joking and everything. And finally, we gave our keys to the valet parker. So all of a sudden they brought my car up. When they brought my car up, me and my wife like tugging on who's going to get in the passenger seat. So we're joking and laughing. So those guys are like, "Hey, Tom, you might need to let her drive," you know. And they said you may need to let her drive, and I agreed with that. So she got in the driver's seat, and I got in the passenger seat. So I waved at them, and I pulled off. Now, at this time, I'm riding in a brand new red 1995 512 TR Ferrari. Okay, that's the Testarossa version. That car today costs anywhere around $1.5 to $2 million. So that's what we pulled up in. Excuse me. So my wife kind of nailed it getting out of the parking lot, and we got around. So not the next day. It was about 2 days later. 2 days later, I get a call from one of my attorney friends, right? And he says, "Tone," he said, "Hey man," he left a voicemail. He said, "Hey man, give me a call, man. Give me a call when you get this message." I said, "Okay." So I didn't call him that day. So I called him back the next day. He said, "Hey man, can we meet for lunch?" I said, "Why? Is everything all right?" He said, "Man, I just need you to meet me, man." He said, "Meet me." All right. I said, "Okay." So we met at a restaurant downtown called Trey Beards or something like that, right? It's a sort of a Creole Cajun restaurant. Sell red beans and rice, hot sausage and shrimp, po' boys and stuff like that. So I met him. As soon as I walked in, he shook my hand, he gave me a big bear hug, and he asked, he said, "Say man, I thought you said that you were through with that business." When he said that, I grabbed him and I held him, and I started feeling for him. I started feeling on him as though he had a mic. So he said, "What are you doing?" I said, "What are you talking about?" So he said, "Well, man, I just want." I said, "Man, what?" I said, "What is this about?" So he says, "Well, I'm not wearing no wire." I said, "All right. So what's the deal?" He said, "Man, when y'all left the party, man, did you see that couple that was standing right across from us?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "You didn't pay attention to who that was?" I said, "Man, I don't know that guy. I saw him." He said, "Tony, he is the assistant U.S. attorney of Houston." I said, "And?" "Well, he came over there because he's an attorney." Now, I can't think of his name anymore, but he came over to them and he says, "Who was that guy that just left in that car?" And those clowns, they said, "Oh, that's Tony Ford." So the attorney says, "That's Tony Ford?" And they said, "Yeah." So he said, "Seems like he's back up to his old habits." So they said his name was Bert Isaacs. So they said, "Bert, what are you talking about, man?" They said, "Come on, man. The trial that guy just had, and then he's pulling up in a car like that? Nah." He said, "Yeah." He said, we're gonna get him this time." And I said, "He said that?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, man, I'm not doing shit for him to get me." They said, "Well, Tone, I'm just letting you know, watch your back. These guys got a hard on for you because you beat them. So they're willing to do anything that it would take." And I heard that. I'm like, "Yeah, all right, whatever." Okay, so I went on. Wasn't doing nothing. So here's what happened. Keep in mind, the judge gave the government a judgment to pay me my money. The government now has filed their motion, and they challenged it. When they challenged it, now they got the IRS and everybody else involved. So the IRS hit me with like $85,000 delinquent tax payment. So I told my lawyer, I said, "Man, I got to pay that." I said, "Man, I was going through trial and everything, and my businesses weren't operating the whole bit." He said, "Tone, I can look into it for you." So he had someone that was an attorney and a CPA and a tax attorney to look into my situation. So we answered the IRS inquiry, a notification. We answered it. So when my attorney answered it, they wrote a letter telling my attorney that Mr. Ford has to pay that $85,000. So now I feel it's a trick. Y'all trying to see where I'm getting this money from, right? Because I had a lot of my money hidden the second time around. So what happened, I said, man, I'm not paying them folk, man. They already owe me, they owe me right at $23 million. Shit, man, tell them to get the $85,000 out of what they owe me. Tell them to prorate that shit. Man, my lawyer got a letter from the IRS attorney and the government. Tell Mr. Ford we're not a bank and we're not prorating anything. He has to pay the $85,000. My attorney told me at that particular time, he said, Tone, you need to let this go. I said, I ain't letting shit go. So now I'm pushing all other kind of cars. You know, I'm taking trips. I got homes in foreign countries. I'm really living it up. So it's almost like I'm thumbing my nose at them the whole bit. Right? And I didn't heed the warning. But when Bert Isaacs saw me and my wife getting in that Ferrari, he took that back to the assistant attorney's office in Houston. And all of those attorneys got together, man, and almost everything that I had, not almost everything that I had, they assigned an attorney on each of those projects. And it took them right at 5 years to come get me. They seized all my assets, all my businesses and everything. And when my attorney told me to just bow, he said, Tony, look, just go ahead and let that go. You got this. So it wasn't so much the greed factor as it was I wanted to show them. You know, I wanted to thumb my nose at them. And I didn't pay attention. And I didn't read the tea leaves. So brother, I'm not speaking from a person that's a hater. I'm speaking as a person from experience. And what I'm saying is this: everybody knows that you're home. Everybody know Harry O's home. No one's seen him. He's not hanging out. He's not all over social media, any of these things. And that's a brother I admire as well. I just think that sometimes we should let good enough do. And I told you, I spent many a sleepless nights, man, saying that I should have listened to my attorney. I lost $23 million in order to gain 64. Nothing hurt more than when they took it the second time around, when I could have let well enough do. So I know you say these two situations don't equate to the same. Yes, it does. Maybe the value of it. And I read where you said that's all you've been wanting. You've been wanting to get your manicure and everything. And that's understandable. That's being pampered. But however long you got in the halfway house, maybe you could have waited until you was under house arrest, or you got a weekend pass and went to church, or whatever the situation may be. I don't know how Miami's situation worked. Maybe you wasn't in the halfway house. Maybe you've already gotten a pass. Maybe you'd already gotten a pass. And if that's the case, that's fine. But sometimes don't, in our age today, don't post that kind of shit. You don't know who's watching. I didn't know who Bert Isaacs was. Never heard his name until they mentioned it. And when my trial started, Bert Isaacs was the leading government attorney. And he said some things about me, man, that like I had two heads and a tail. You know? And eventually it all turned out to be a lie, because that's how I'm here now talking to you. when I pled my case to the president. They created all sorts of bullshit on me, but no court wanted to hear it. I had to take it to the highest law of the land, and they realized that they stifled, they suffocated, they perjured, they suborned, perjured testimony. They did all of this. I don't have any of those things anymore, but I got my freedom. And Brother Meech, that right there is priceless. So just moving forward, man, just think about it. I know sometimes you just say fuck them, but you know they can say it in a way, man, that'll really, really, really hurt us. And something so simple as appearing to get a manicure in the halfway house while you're wearing expensive jewelry, it can definitely give those federal agents a hard on. And again, too, now let's think about it as far as our community is concerned a whole bit, man. You've always been a caring person. And you go towards your target audience. But see, one thing that everyone wants to see, whether you're about it or not, everyone wants to see when a man comes home from prison, he's been locked up. They're looking for him to be a bit contrite. They're looking for him to be a bit sorry. They're looking for you to reach out to the community, not the drug community. You know, because seems like this is who you're appealing to. You're appealing to the hustlers. It seems as though you're trying to put the band back together. But just think about all those youth. See, I'm too old. They don't remember me. Keep in mind, I played the Jordan era. You're in the LeBron hip-hop era. So a lot of people heard of you and know of you, know the way you live, know the way y'all did it, the way y'all ball. Well, now a lot of these kids that were kids now has kids, and their parents done told them about you. Social media tell them about you every day. What do you tell them? See, I don't have your popularity, but yet I turned down a speaking engagement because they wanted me to go and speak to the youth and tell the youth to get out the streets and stop hustling. Think about this for a minute, brother, and any others of you that's out there that's listening. I didn't have nothing to tell the youngsters at that time. We hadn't created our business Sonetquity, which is a business that's built on community, built on everyone working together. So I didn't have that at the time. So I didn't want to get on stage wearing a $3,000 suit because I was going to put one on. That would have been the same as getting a manicure and wearing the jewelry. So I didn't want to get up there with gaiters on, $3,000 suit, well manicured. And I tell the kids, hey, get out the streets. Leave the drugs alone. Leave the hustle alone. Leave the fraud alone. You know, there's many other things that you can do, a whole bit. And then I get a little kid, little Juju. Little Juju tells me, hey, Mr. Ford, you know, I like what you're talking about. And I really want to leave that life alone. But Mr. Ford, let me say this. My mother's a diabetic. Her medicine is very, very expensive. She can barely afford it. I hustle to purchase her medicine and keep a roof over our head. My sister's about to graduate from high school and she's going to be going to college. So she was trying to get some grants. She wasn't able to get it, so she's going to have to pay. So I'm going to be paying that. My younger brother is the only one that's at home, pretty much. And, you know, I try to keep him in the best clothes and everything to prevent him from coming out in the streets where I'm at. I don't necessarily like what I'm doing, but I can't get a job any place, anywhere. I'm an ex-felon, and no one wants to hire me. And through my hustle, this is how I take care of my family and keep the roof over our head. So if I give that up, can you tell me, Mr. Ford, can you tell me what is it that I would do as an alternative? So since I had nothing to tell them or to give them as an alternative, I didn't want to be on that stage appearing to be a hypocrite. Right? So I'm saying that to say this, Brother Meech. A lot of those guys look up to you. And a lot of those guys are going to look to you for answers on how to revolutionize their hustle game. Or what is it that you can give them as an alternative to take them out of the streets? That's what society is going to be looking to you for. And I know you say, you know what? I don't owe them nothing. Well, you don't owe any of the other ones that used to hustle with you nothing anymore either. If that's the case, how can you uplift them? Or how can you help them uplift themselves to greater heights without having to go back into the streets? And I know you kept a hand on the streets. It's obvious. And if you have, then you know a lot has changed. Some of those that were under you, man, have blown up. And they're big. Some of them have moved on and got families now. They have kids. They have jobs and businesses. Everybody's not going to be your same crew. And there's going to be some that are just there for the fanfare. And if they get knocked, if they get jammed up, they have no loyalty to you. And keep in mind, like I say all the time, some people are interesting to meet, but not interesting to know. So, you know, ponder that thought for a minute, and take inventory of your surroundings. Take inventory of your circles. Man, with what you guys got going on, man, you shouldn't ever have to think about, look like, or act like that. And I know we all want to go on and continue living a nice lifestyle. And see, and I know we say, but this is what I'm used to. We weren't born that way. We adapted it. See, I wasn't born rich, you know, but I was born in a house with my mother, my father, such as yourself. And my parents were there. My parents were there for me. And they looked out for me. They took care of me. I chose struggle. Okay? That's what I chose to do. So, you're not used to getting out of prison and then coming home and getting pampered the whole bit. We weren't born with silver spoons in our mouth. And I know we always talk about, you know, we're king. The realest thing I heard Charleston White say is this: everybody want to be called a king, everybody want to be called a queen. So let's say everyone from Africa, they call themselves, all right, you have different countries, and if you have someone that's acclaimed a king and a queen, then what was everybody else? Everybody's not kings, everybody's not queens, man. You know, royalty is in your head, I get it. But others are going to try and treat you differently. You're going to be judged. Don't give them nothing to judge you with. Don't give them nothing to put you back into that situation that we just left. And as I told you, right? I was hard-headed. I got out here and I said, fuck it, man, I'm going to live my life. You know what I mean? And they showed me, brother. And this time they got 25 years out of my ass. Okay? So, just a thought, y'all. But other than that, brothers, I wish many of our other contemporaries can take a look at this and understand what it is that I'm saying. And I know that I'm going to get a message or two, some of you calling me a hater, or whatever the situation may be. I'm not a hater. Not at all. And manicures, pedicures, I had homeboys, man, that got both manicures, pedicures, getting their hair cut and trimmed and everything. And I go to the barbershop with them the whole bit. I lived the same life they did, man. I did my own fingers, did my own nails and shit. Got my hair cut, got it faded, and I did that, and that was just about it. I wasn't into that. And there's nothing wrong with a man being into that. There's nothing wrong with pampering yourself at all. You know, I just didn't find a necessity for it. There were other things I enjoyed doing. And part of it was reading. You know, going to a library, literally. You know, going to a diner. Long before we had social media, I would buy a book and get me a tea because I didn't drink coffee. I'd buy a book, get me a nice cup of tea, and I'd sit in a coffee shop and I'll read that book. So there were times or two I sat in there and I read damn near every chapter in the book because I was comfortable. That's where I felt best at. And there's nothing wrong with you getting that done. But sometimes the difference, man, sometimes it's a difference in the timing. Okay? And I know you say, well, I don't give a shit what others say. I don't give a shit what others think. We should be mindful. There are those that we should be concerned about what they think. And that particular prosecutor that saw me at this fundraiser, he didn't like the way that looked. I'm in a $200 and something thousand car. And, you know, he saw the love that my wife and I had for one another. And then I gave her the keys to this car. And she drove. These guys said, man, he watched us until we got out of the parking lot, out of the entrance. And then came over and asked, who is that guy? And it wasn't my intention to show off or do that. Because those guys outside knew me. And it was a lifestyle that I had evolved to live. But I wasn't born that way. If I'd have known that, I could have done without that. Especially knowing what it had taken from me, what it was going to take from me. So, brother, I wish you the best. You and your family. And I wish you nothing but success. And I hope to one day have the opportunity to meet you.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
My name is Daniel. How are you doing today?
Daniel, how can I help you?
Well, the reason of my call today is to let you know about a new state-approved final expense whole life insurance plan.
I'm done.
It covers.
Yes, guys. But at any rate, that's what I've been reduced to, getting these medical calls all day. But at any rate, I hope you all enjoy your day, and thank you for joining me. And I hope that my message resonates, even if it's just one. Okay? Thank you. Enjoy your weekend. Peace. Okay.